Hi guys, so it is that time of year again. All the things that happened in 2022. I would say 2022 was a pretty good year for me. In January, what did my family decide to do? We went to Florida to Disney World. I mean, granted, my mom had been saving for this vacation for the last, I would say 3 years. We were gonna go in 2022 because it was Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, and obviously they had the castle decorated, they had Mickey and Minnie in new outfits, they had all this other cool, exciting stuff that was happening. I was very anxious about this trip. You're flying on a plane, going to Florida, of all places, when COVID is still at its peak. I was very I wanna go, I'm still gonna go, but I was very cautious. It was a really wonderful experience, but I love the character interactions, and obviously with COVID, I was nervous there was gonna be no characters out and about, and that was gonna be a huge disappointment for me. At that time, they did have characters out and about, but you had to be 6 feet away from them. I went in 2008. Tiana, Rapunzel, Frozen, they did not exist. So I got to meet Tiana, I got to talk to Rapunzel, I talked about frying pans and the art of how to use a frying pan properly, hit someone. I got to talk to Anna and Elsa. I got to have a conversation with Elsa about how she's one of my favorite Disney princesses or Disney queens. We talked about how we both love chocolate with Anna, and it was just this really wonderful experience. The other thing that came about this trip is that number one on my bucket list, probably since 2013, 2014, has been to go to Universal Studios. Part of our trip this time around going to Disney, my second time, was my mom was we are finally going to do Universal. I was very nervous, very anxious about it, because I'm this is a big deal for me. A huge thing for me as a huge Transformers fan, as a kind of trying to be more of a closeted Harry Potter fan now because of all the ish with that. But I wasn't gonna let that stop me from doing the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, because I wanted to do that for many, many years, and I'm not gonna let anything stop me from doing what's been number one on my bucket list for many, many years. We went into the entrance and you turn that corner. I saw the Optimus statue looking out like this, and with the huge building, and it was just this out-of-body experience, being I'm actually here. This has been my dream, number one on my bucket list for ages, and I'm finally here doing this. It didn't feel real, and it still doesn't feel real that I did that. I got to ride the Transformers ride, which was my favorite ride of that entire trip, and it will now forever be my favorite ride I've ever been on ever in my entire life. I don't think anything can top that, really. It's the end of the ride. There's a portion where Optimus Prime transforms in front of you, and his face gets very close to you. And to have that experience was just, it's something I will treasure for the rest of my life, and I got to do that. I did get to meet the characters that dressed up in those Optimus, Megatron, and Bumblebee costumes. I didn't get a picture with Megatron, kind of regret that, wish I had, but it's fine, it's okay. I'm a Star Wars fan, and so I got to go to Galaxy's Edge, because that did not exist when I went in 2008. I got to go to Galaxy's Edge. I had a stormtrooper heckle me, which was really something I was hoping to have happen, so that was exciting. I got to ride Rides of Resistance, and it was worth the wait. That's my second favorite ride that I've ever ridden. Rides of Resistance is so good. So most of January was getting ready for Disney trip, going on said Disney trip, and then being wish I was back at said Disney trip. Surprised that none of us got COVID from that trip. Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that was a magical experience. As someone that's loved Harry Potter for a very long time and loves magic, I finally got a wand. I don't care if I paid outrageous prices for a piece of plastic stick. I don't care. We did ride the Hogwarts Express from one end of the park to the other, and that was just a really cool thing. So February became overshadowed by Imagine Dragons, because in February I got to go see Imagine Dragons in concert, and that was a really fun, amazing time. Including this concert, I've only been to 3 concerts. I would say this is definitely my favorite concert out of all the 3. Dan Reynolds and his band, they know how to put on a show. They know how to bring the energy. They love performing. You can see it in Dan's, the way he dances and sings and performs and brings a show. It's a whole spectacle. It's an experience going to an Imagine Dragons concert. Another thing that happened in February was the long-awaited sequel to the first Crescent City book from Sarah J. Maas came out, Crescent City Book 2, House of Sky and Breath. It is my favorite book of this year. It was amazing. The ending, oh my god, I need book 3 ASAP. I love that book. In March, I finally, after 6 months of it being out, I finally watched Arcane, and wow. that is one of my favorite new favorite shows of this year. Granted, it came out in 2021, and Arcane is very good. I did a whole review for Arcane, which is my most watched and viewed video of this year. Like, it did very, very well. It didn't end until May, but it came out in March, and that was Moon Knight. Now, this was the first Marvel, like, Disney Plus show where I knew next to nothing about Moon Knight. Love this show. It's such a good show. We got The Batman with Robert Pattinson, and I was very highly anticipating this because obviously, huge Twilight fan, I love Robert Pattinson. This is definitely my favorite Batman film. He did a really great job as Batman. One of my major goals for this year was I wanted to really dive in to backgrounds for my digital art. Figure drawing and drawing hands and backgrounds have been my 3 things that I've needed to work on, and I keep saying I'm going to, and then I just push them off to the sidelines like many other things that I need to get my shit together on. Wanted to tackle backgrounds. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna tackle backgrounds. I'm gonna do simple backgrounds, and then I'm gonna work my way up. I would say my progress has been great. Like, I haven't done a ton of like extreme detailed backgrounds, but that's okay. I was actually pretty proud of the progress that I've made with backgrounds. Any progress is great progress. Biggest thing that happened in April, we got our announcement of who is playing Percy Jackson in the Percy Jackson TV show. The actor who's playing Percy Jackson is Walker, and he was the kid who played in the Addams Project, and he was great. He was very sarcastic. He played a young Ryan Reynolds. I think he's gonna kill it as Percy, so I cannot wait to see him like kick ass and just shine with Riptide alongside Annabeth and Grover, who also got casted this year. I'm very excited for both of those actors. A lot happened in May. The Scarlet Witch took over my life this year, which I am not complaining about at all. In May, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness came out, and this was my most anticipated film, I'm pretty sure, of this year because I loved WandaVision. I love Wanda so much. I did so much Wanda art this year, it was ridiculous. All of the Wanda bits in that movie were like the highlight, the best parts of the film. All the Wanda bits were chef's kiss. Doctor Strange came out, my parents were on vacation in California. I saw Doctor Strange twice, and then like 3 days later, I started to feel really like not great. I had a headache, my throat was hurting. I felt like I had strep throat, and I hadn't had strep throat since I was probably in elementary school. In the back of my mind being like, there's no way I have COVID. The next day, I took a COVID test and I tested positive for COVID. But for like 10, 11 days, I was out with the Rona. I am so lucky that I am vaccinated. I had my sense of taste, I had my sense of smell, but like my head was killing because it is a respiratory thing. So my chest was hurting. I was coughing like there was no tomorrow. I didn't have a great time with it. And what sucks about me having COVID is I am the most like cautious person when it came to COVID in our household. But yet I was the first person in our household to get freaking COVID, and I could just Then June happened. Now, I'm going to start off with the positive of June, and then we can go into the negative. I started this new vampire series that kind of reminded me of Twilight, because I love Twilight to bits. I've always wanted to find another series that makes me feel the way that Twilight made me feel. This new vampire series that has very similar covers to Twilight, the Crave series by Tracy Wolff, was that for me. This was like my new Twilight, but like for my 20s. Like, Twilight will always have a special place in my heart, but this series just captivated me and captured my love that I have for Twilight in a new way, but with like better romance, better character moments, and just like a better story and plot. Granted, they're still cheesy and like cringy in of themselves, but it's a really good vampire series. It started in May, but it finished up in June, and that was the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I love the prequel trilogy. It's my favorite Star Wars trilogy. I have been wanting an Obi-Wan Kenobi like centered like story for a very long time. It brought me to tears, and then when Anakin and Obi-Wan fought again, it was just, I was not disappointed with the show. The unfortunate thing that happened in June, on the 24th of June, they overturned Roe v. Wade. For a lot of us, was a huge like punch to the gut. For all women across this country, it was a huge punch to the gut. Every woman should have a right to choose what they do with their own bodies. No one should tell another human being what they can and cannot do with their bodies. It's disgusting that there's people out there that want to tell me what I can and cannot do with my own body. There's an invasion of privacy. July was a really pretty fun month. I saw Thor 4 with all of my friends. My brake line broke, so I had to slowly drive my car home with like no brakes, so that was a nerve-wracking experience. We had a lot of nature day trips in July. There's this pizza place near my house, and I say near my house, it's an hour away from my house, that I just discovered last year. My parents have been to multiple times. It's very good. It's like Stone Barn Pizza. It's very good. Went to like Gooseberry Falls, which I've never been. It was a very beautiful place. Like, I have a love-hate relationship with nature, but when I see like phenomenons of nature that I don't see every day in my backyard, then I'm enamored and I'm in love, and I want to do that type of nature. I want to be a part of the nature things that I don't see around here in Wisconsin. Niagara Falls, or like the sequoia trees, or like the Grand Canyon. Those are nature things that I don't see in my backyard. Those are the type of things that I want to see. Also in June, I signed up for my 6th year of Chalk Fest, which I can't believe I did 6 years of this. And on the 23rd was Chalk Fest, and it was really exciting to have it back in person, because every year I want to do a tribute piece to something. This year I did a tribute piece to Spider-Man No Way Home, because that was a huge thing. I did faces in kind of like really like bright neon pinks and oranges and greens of all 3 Spider-Mans, of Toby, Tom, and Andrew. I think it turned out pretty cute. It turned out really nice. In August, I turned 25. I'm 5 years away from being 30, which is like, it's not sinking in, and it's crazy, man. For my birthday, the one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to go see this interactive like Van Gogh exhibit, and it was a very beautiful experience. As someone that loves like Van Gogh's artwork, especially the Starry Night and his sunflowers, to see it like projected while it was kind of like moving like an interactive picture was just very, very fun and very cool. And it was a really like beautiful experience. He has a very like impressionist style with his artwork, and that's kind of something I would like to incorporate more in my painting style. He kind of inspires me in the things that I paint, because the longest time I have been like neglecting doing like Instagram reels. Like with everything like social media, you have to be innovative, you have to learn to adapt to change. Screw it, I'm gonna make reels. And so I started making book reels, and they do very well. I'm very surprised. Like, and I actually am not gonna lie, I love making book reels. Speaking of Instagram reels, on my art Instagram, I made a reel based on a challenge that I was seeing around TikTok, and I did 2 of them. One of them did decently well, and the second one that I did, it blew up. It just kept gaining and gaining traction. I've never had this much traction on a post or a reel or anything, and it was just insanity. Like, as of right now, it's at 80,000 views, and I can't comprehend that. That's kind of crazy. That was a kind of unexpected thing that happened to me this year. In September, they released the extended edition of No Way Home. Again, just affirmates how much I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man and how much I love No Way Home. It's my favorite Spider-Man film. It is just everything I've ever wanted. This is one of my favorite TV shows of this year. The Rings of Power was amazing. I don't care what anyone else says. Like, my mom is a die-hard Lord of the Rings fan, but we were addicted to Rings of Power. The actress who played the young Galadriel, she was fantastic. My favorite bits, the young Elrond and Durin, like their friendship was just everything. And then the whole Hilbrand twist at the end, I kind of saw it coming, but at the same time, I was so upset that it was happening. Another thing that happened in September was we got our first teaser, our first look at the Percy Jackson TV show, and watching that teaser, it was like watching everything and the way I pictured Camp Half-Blood coming to life. Just can't wait to see some of these moments that have become so iconic come to life. I went to my cousin's wedding and I did bar hopping, bar crawling for the first time ever. I don't drink really at all. I just don't care for it very much. It was a lot of fun. I don't think I'd do it again. It was an experience. Also in September, we got the announcement Rick Riordan was coming out with a new book, a Will and Nico book. I am so hyped for that book. October was mainly overshadowed by Taylor Swift for obvious reasons. Me and my mom got to go see Anastasia on Broadway. I have loved the like Fox animated Anastasia movie for probably my entire life. Would watch that movie on repeat as a kid non-stop. I've wanted to see the Broadway show of Anastasia for a very long time. We went and it was amazing. One of two big things that happened in October is Rick Riordan, after already announcing the bombshell of a Nico and Will book this year, he announced that there's going to be a new Percy Jackson as a main character book in fall of 2023, and I was losing my mind. Now have this be another Percy, Annabeth, and Grover main trio book. It's like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Obviously in October, Taylor Swift's 10th studio album, Midnight's dropped, and it became my everything. It is still my everything. It was breaking so many records. Like, gosh, she just killed it with this album. It was so good. In November, we got Black Panther 2 finally came out. I was an emotional wreck all 4 times that I've seen that film. Especially the first time around, like, oh my god, the tribute they did, not just in the handling of T'Challa, but also Chadwick's death. They let the film breathe. They let these characters grieve in their own ways, and they showed you how you can grieve in different ways. How, not to mention Namor. There's that. Breaking Dawn Part 2 turned 10 years old in November, and my brain is having a hard time wrapping around that. I feel like this year was like a huge year for the Twilight Renaissance. I mean, granted, 2020 was also, I think, a huge year for Twilight Renaissance. And then this year, you had Twilight merch showing up at Hot Topic. You t-shirts, hoodies, backpacks, jewelry. First time I've seen Twilight merch in person since like 2011, 2012, and it was like, it was a dream because it didn't feel real. So since 2011, I have wanted Bella's wedding ring, and I now own it on a necklace. To a lot of people, most people, this doesn't mean anything, but to me, this means a lot. We got a new Transformers TV show, Transformers Earthsparks. For the longest time, the last couple Transformers shows, I have just not enjoyed those Transformers shows. They haven't really been like capturing the heart and soul that is Transformers for me personally, but it just had that magic and that love that Transformers has had for me. It captures what I think Transformers has always been about: acceptance, about like relationships and learning from each other, and just like how two different like worlds can come together and work well, and just the heart and soul. Everything that I wanted in a Transformers show for a very long time happened, and it just felt like it made me fall back in love with Transformers. To wrap up November, like a week before Thanksgiving, my mom got COVID. December, we're in the last month now, we're in the home stretch. I think this happened on December 1st. We got our first teaser trailer for the new Transformers live action movie, and I was losing my mind. I am very excited about this movie, granted, because it's Transformers, and I love the Transformers live action movies. Also getting to hear Peter Cullen again as Optimus after a very long time is also very, very exciting. My Hero Season 6 started in October. December, we got the Dobby reveal, which I was highly anticipating, and I think it was very well done. It was still like crazy to see. Something really cool that happened in December of this year is that my mom's side of the family, they have a lot of recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. My aunt wanted to make a recipe book of. My aunt wanted to know if I wanted to do the cover art for said recipe book. It was like, how can I pass up an offer like this? It's something that like means the world to me. Experience that I'm gonna treasure and like keep close to me for a very long time. Like 2 days before Christmas, my dad tested positive for COVID. We had to kind of have a quarantine Christmas, which kind of sucked. That was my year. This year had a lot of ups and downs to it, but what year doesn't? It's all about how you spin it and how you learn from those pros and cons. And sometimes life just hits you like a brick and it just throws things at you, and like all the bad things will eventually pass. Say all this, so many great books came out this year. I read so many more books that I read last year in 2021, and that was one of my goals, was to read more this year than last year, and I accomplished that. My art goals for this year were to like practice backgrounds, and I think I did a very good job of like starting that goal and continuing that goal into next year. I took on so many different paintings this year. I really wanted to practice doing like studies and paint some Studio Ghibli scenes. There's a particular scene in Howl's Moving Castle that is one of my favorite scenes of all time.
and I just wanted to paint it so badly, and I did, and it took a lot of time and effort, but I'm very proud of how it came out. A lot of great opportunities and things did happen for me this year, and I am grateful to said opportunities and things that I got to do.
A lot of exciting stuff in terms of like fandom wise, books, movies, TV shows, etc. next year. I don't know what else 2023 holds for me. I'll just see what comes my way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys had a pretty okay 2022. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys with a new video sometime in January of 2023. Bye guys.